Welcome, this isn't just an English story. It's a story about the English people actually speak every day. Maybe you understand slow English very well, maybe every lesson feels comfortable, maybe you can understand almost everything, but then you hear two native speakers talking and suddenly everything sounds different. The words seem to disappear, the sentences seem much faster. You wonder, why can't I understand them? In today's story, David discovers that the problem isn't his listening ability. The problem is that he's been practicing a different kind of English. As you listen, ask yourself one question. Are you training your ears for lessons or for real conversations? Now let's begin. David practiced English every day on his way to work. He listened to English stories while making dinner. He listened again before going to bed. He listened one more time. The speakers talked slowly. Every sentence was clear. Every word was easy to hear. David understood almost everything. He smiled. My listening is getting much better. A few weeks later, he felt more confident than ever. I think I'm finally good at listening. And he couldn't wait to have a real conversation. He believed he was ready. A few days later, David had lunch with his coworkers. Everyone was talking at the same time. People laughed. People interrupted each other. Nobody waited for the perfect sentence. David listened carefully. He recognized many words, but the sentences didn't sound familiar. Some words seemed to disappear. Some words seemed to join together. By the time he understood one sentence, everyone was already talking about something else. David smiled politely, but he barely said a word. On his way home, he couldn't stop thinking about it. I know these words, so why couldn't I understand them? The next day, David paid closer attention, not to the speed, but to the way people spoke. Mike answered a phone call. Yeah, I'll be there. David heard something strange. He was sure Mike had said, I'll be there, but it didn't sound like those words. A few minutes later, another coworker walked over. Let me know. David blinked. Lemmy. Then someone else said, wanna grab some coffee? David knew the words, let me, want to. But nobody was saying them that way. On his way back to his desk, David had a new question. Maybe real English isn't actually faster. Maybe it just doesn't sound like the English I've been practicing. The next day, David told his teacher what had happened. I understand slow English. But real conversations sound completely different. His teacher smiled. That's because you're listening to two different kinds of English. David looked surprised. Different kinds, the teacher nodded. In listening lessons, people speak clearly. They pronounce almost every word. They leave small spaces between sentences. But real conversations don't work that way. People connect words, they reduce sounds. They speak in groups of words, not one word at a time. David thought about lunch with his coworkers, so they weren't speaking faster, not as much as you think, the teacher said. They were simply speaking naturally. The teacher smiled. Your ears learned classroom English. Now they need to learn real English. David nodded. For the first time, he understood the real problem. He didn't need better hearing. Oh, he needed different listening practice. The teacher gave David a simple challenge. For 1 week, stop listening only to slow English. David looked surprised. Then what should I listen to? The teacher smiled. Listen to real conversations. Just 10 minutes a day. Don't stop after every sentence. Don't replay every word, and don't worry if you miss something. The goal isn't to understand everything. The goal is to get used to real English. That evening, David found a short conversation online. At first, it felt impossible. Some words were still unclear. Some sentences disappeared before he could understand them, but he kept listening. The next day, he did it again, and the day after that, he listened again, little by little. Real English didn't sound as strange as before. After a few days, David noticed something surprising. He still didn't hear every word, but he understood more of the conversation. He stopped chasing every sentence. Instead, he followed the main idea. The next lesson, he told his teacher, I still miss some words, but I understand much more. His teacher smiled. That's exactly what happens. Real listening isn't about catching every word. It's about understanding the message. Native speakers don't hear every sound perfectly either. They use the words they hear, the situation, and the conversation to understand the meaning. David thought about his old study habits. He had been trying to collect every word. Now, he was learning to follow the conversation. For the first time, listening felt more natural. 1 week later, David had lunch with the same co-workers. The room sounded just as busy. People talked over each other. Someone said, "Wanna grab coffee later?" Another person replied, "Yeah, sounds good." This time, David didn't panic. He didn't try to catch every word. He listened for the meaning. He followed the conversation. He understood the jokes. He laughed at the right time, and for the first time, he joined the conversation. On his way home, David smiled. The conversations hadn't changed. His coworkers hadn't changed. Only the way he listened had changed. David still listened to slow English, but he no longer stayed there. Slow English helped him start. Real English helped him grow. He finally understood. The goal was never to hear every single word. The goal was to understand real people. If you only practice English that feels easy, real conversations will always feel difficult. Don't train your ears for perfect English. Train them for real English, because the English you learn in lessons is only the beginning. The English people use every day is where real communication begins.